a birthday book haul.
Do you want to say happy birthday? Oh, thank you. Thank you for the birthday kisses.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rochelle, and today we have a special video. It is my 30th birthday, which, holy crap, I can't believe I'm 30, but also I am so excited to be in my 30s. Early 20s were rough, and late 20s were a lot better, and I've heard nothing but great things about being in your 30s, so I'm excited for this. I'm 30, I'm not flirty, I'm hopefully thriving. That's how I'd like to think about it. But today what we're actually going to do is a birthday book haul. This was not exactly planned, but my partner actually surprised me with a special bookstore treat. We actually went to 2nd and Charles, and he actually planned for a specific challenge where I got to pick out 30 books for my 30th birthday. A few exceptions would be if any books were around $20 or higher, or if they were sprayed edges, then those books would count for 2 books instead of 1. So this was definitely something that very much surprised me, because I had joked in the past about seeing these challenges and saying like, oh, that would be so much fun for my 30th birthday, but also knowing at the same time that it's not something that's entirely feasible. And we did go to a used bookstore for this challenge, and for this birthday treat we went to 2nd and Charles, and something with 2nd and Charles is that they do offer teacher discounts. Something that I've learned is that bookstores really do love their teachers, which honestly a lot more places should. Teachers do so much for the community, and they deserve so much more than what they get. They get paid not that well, so anytime that we do find places that go and support teachers, they're definitely places that we love going back to also show our support to them as well. But they have a really decent teacher discount, which I believe is 20% off, so that is nothing to go and sneeze at. That is an amazing deal. But what I have here is a huge pile of books, so we're actually going to go through them. Like I said, did not plan on doing this. I had planned on doing an end of the year book haul because I had books stocked up from Black Friday as well as the end of the year book sales, but that will be at a later time so that we're not making this video a million years long, because as you know, I like usually going and reading at least a paragraph off of each book that I get in my hauls, just so that you get a little bit of an idea of them. But I know I'm yapping, I'm sorry. I'm really excited about this, and just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a disclaimer with some of the pieces here, because huge hauls like this definitely aren't easy to do, and something that we usually have to go and put money aside for. So yeah, let us go and get started, because I kind of blacked out on the day that we did this, because my birthday, as you know, because I'm posting this on my birthday, is on a Tuesday, and my fiance had to go back to work and couldn't get the day off, so we celebrated a little bit earlier over the weekend. But there was so many people there that I kind of blacked out, and I wasn't able to go and film little clips because, as you know, I'm incredibly introverted, and filming in public is not an easy feat, and I just didn't have the capability of filming anything because there were so many people around. So yeah, I did have a list of the books that I was looking for specifically, but because of the holidays and everything, some of the books weren't that easy to find, and I had to kind of comb through book by book. I think I was there for maybe around 2.5 to 3 hours looking at books. If you were to go to a bookstore with me, I kind of take my time, and I like looking at everything and taking everything in, which can be influenced depending on how overstimulated I am, and if there's a huge crowd of people, then I'm a little bit quicker. But okay, I'm sorry, I'm chatty. I'll try to see if I remember to put a timestamp so you could just jump to it and don't have to deal with me babbling for long periods of time. But anyway, the first book we have to go over is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. This is actually a book that I've kind of had on my radar for a while. I've heard a lot of people on BookTube going and talking about it, and I've kind of been feeling the itch to get back into my vampire era. As some of you might know, when I was younger, I was obsessed with vampires. I was constantly reading them. Yes, I read all the Twilight books and I was obsessed with those as well, but I was also obsessed with the traditional vampires, the ones that couldn't go in the sunlight and would burn to a crisp. So things like that. And so I've been very curious about this one. So for anyone that doesn't know about these books at all, it says it has been 27 long years since the last sunrise. For nearly 3 decades, vampires have waged war against humanity, building their eternal empire even as they tear down our own. Now only a few tiny sparks of light endure in a sea of darkness. Gabriel de Leon is a silver saint, a member of a holy brotherhood dedicated to defending realm and church from the creatures of the night. But even the Silver Order could not stem the tide. Once daylight failed us, and now only Gabriel remains. I'm so excited for this one. I haven't listened to too many people do reading vlogs or anything on this book because I did want to go and experience it on my own, but this was one of the books that I got that wasn't full price, so this was definitely a used book that belonged to someone before, and this one was $13.95, and it was in really great quality, so I'm excited to read this. It does look like it also has like images and pictures on the inside, which is really cool. I didn't think that was something that would be a part of this book, so I'm so excited for this. Then one that we have that wasn't on my list or on my radar was Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovalino. This was actually a book that my fiance found when they were looking through the shelves because, like I said, I was there for 2.5 hours and I felt so bad. I was like, are you sure I'm not taking too long? And you know, just tell me to go faster. And he's like, no, this is your birthday treat. You can take all the time you want. But I still felt bad. This one was $5.75. It says, they'll lure you in witch fruit and gems and liquor and dancing, merriment to remember for the rest of your life. But that's an illusion. The market is death itself. Beneath the streets of York, the goblin market calls to the wicked women, the family of witches that tends to its victims. For generations they have defended the old cobblestone streets with their magic. Knowing the dangers, they never entered the market until May Wicket fell for a goblin girl, accepted her invitation, and became inextricably tied to the world her family tried to protect her from. The market learned her name, and even when she and her sister left York for Boston to escape it, the goblins remembered. I think when Charles handed me this book too, they said that there was ace representation in this book, and that's something that I would definitely like to go and pick up more books for, because I feel like a lot of the time we might get bi representation but not always ace. So I am really curious about this one, and this is definitely a book that I haven't heard anyone talk about, so it will be really fun to see what my thoughts are with it. Then I have Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. This one has been on my radar for a while now because I know this author is Filipino. As some of you might know, I am Filipino as well. I'm biracial. My dad is white and my mom is Filipino. She's actually from the Philippines. And I've been really wanting to read more authors that, of course, are Filipino and to go and show them my support. So this one I've been really curious about, and I believe it also has vampires involved in it. I feel like now looking back at the books that I got, there's probably going to be a lot of books with vampires, zombies, as well as Filipino authors. So we'll see what other themes we find as we go through this pile of books. This one was $8.95. A villainous heroine finds herself plunged into a seductive world of power, politics, and murder in the court of the Vampire King. In this bloodthirsty debut from an unmissable new voice in fantasy romance. Ooh, maybe I can add this to the Romantasy bingo board. The daughter of a powerful but disgraced blood worker, Shan Leclerc, has spent her entire life perfecting her blood magic. Now she takes her place at the head of the family. Her revenge will soon follow. Samuel Hutchinson is a bastard with a terrible gift, drawn into the world of dark magic and pulled deeply into the ravenous and bloodthirsty court of the Vampire King. I'm excited to check this one out. I know I have also seen a special edition for this book, and the artwork looked so gorgeous for it, so I'm excited to go and read this one and kind of know like who the characters are and everything for it. Then we have one book that actually wasn't one of mine. This was one that my partner got for themselves, and it's The Infernal City, an Elder Scroll novel by Greg Keyes. So a little bit of lore on my relationship. Charles and I actually connected over Skyrim. Skyrim is one of my all-time favorite video games, and same with Charles. One of our cats we actually named Cicero after a character from the Dark Brotherhood, which is one of my all-time favorite quest lines. So just to give you a little bit of lore there, but they were so excited because when they were looking through the bookshelves, they actually found this book, which apparently has been really difficult for them to find and get their hands on. And this one was $7.50. It didn't have an orange sticker, but it did have one of these other stickers showing that was at a lower price. For decades after the Oblivion Crisis, Tamriel is threatened anew by an all-consuming evil. Umbriel, a floating city, casts a terrifying shadow for whoever it falls. People die and rise again. Inside Umbriel's shadow, a great adventure begins, and a group of unlikely heroes meet. A legendary prince with a deep secret, a daring spy on the trail of a vast conspiracy, a mage obsessed with his desire for revenge, and a Naig, a young girl in whose hands the fate of Tamriel may rest. So this sounds really interesting, and depending on how they feel about it, I might have to go and borrow it. It's actually a really thin read too, so they'll probably be happy that I'm doing this book haul so that I can give this book back to them. Then another book that wasn't on my radar but was actually on one of the half off tables was this book. It is Notes on a Murder by B.P. Walter. This was actually the very last book I picked up because I kind of found all the ones that I could from my list. I was like, sure, let's go and add a few other ones that I don't really know about. So this one says, everyone is capable of murder. Are you? It started with an invitation to dinner, an evening of good food and good company at a luxury villa. But as the night progresses, the party takes a dark turn. The host makes you an offer, a party favor he calls it. Another guest has committed a heinous crime. You can end their life, stop their terror. In return, you get to live your darkest desire, one you've never shared. And this one was marked as $5.95. So as you can see, a lot of the books I got were a little bit more marked down, which was definitely a goal of mine because 30 books was a very intimidating thing because, as you know, books are not cheap at all. But I'm excited to read this one. I feel like I have a few other like murder dinner themed books, so who knows, maybe I could do like a reading vlog and group all those books together. Another book I didn't get off of my list was Now You're One of Us by Asa Nonami. I'm not too thrilled with the cover image. It looks like it's a bar of soap with hair on it, which honestly is very disgusting. But I was so intrigued on this one. So it's translated by Michael Volek and Mitsuko Volex. So I didn't realize that this one was actually a translated book, but it was on the horror table, which was, of course, a reason that I gravitated towards it right away. Blood is thicker than tears. In the tradition of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca and Ira Levine's Rosemary's Baby, here's a new classic about the bride who's no longer sure what to think. All families have their own rituals, secrets, and credos, like a miniature religious cult. These quirks may elicit the mirth of mild alarm of guests, but the matter is rather more serious if you're marrying into a household. If it's a Japanese one with a history, then brace yourself. Some surprising truths lurk around the corner. I'm so curious on this one, and as some of you might know, I'm actually getting married at the end of this year. It's not into a Japanese family, it's actually into a British family, but I don't know, this book just really sounded intriguing for me, and I'm so curious for it because I don't know anyone that's read this, and the fact that it's translated is also really cool. Then I have The Enemy by Charlie Higson. So as some of you know, a while back I did go and pick up another book by this author from Second and Charles, and I realized it was actually the prequel and not book one like I thought it was. And then I tried again to try to buy book one, and I got it from Book Outlet and found out it was actually book 5. So I was kind of about to give up and just see if I could get the first one from the library since I was doing so horribly trying to get it on my own. And then as I was looking through the bookshelves, I finally found book 1. And this one is only $4.75, so it definitely was a steal and was in such great quality. I think the only thing is there's kind of like nail marks on the spine, but I don't know if that was like an intentional piece because it is a zombie book. I can't see where a description is for this book, but I do know it is like a zombie apocalypse series, and I believe it takes place in London. I'm so intrigued on this because I think So 28 Days Later is a really popular zombie movie, and I think it also takes place in the UK. So I'm very curious on this. I feel like I talk about how much I love zombies, but I haven't really read a lot of zombie books, or at least good zombie books that aren't cheesy and still have like that fear and intensity. So I'm so excited to read this and finally just feed that itch of reading more zombie books aside from just watching zombie TV shows, playing zombie video games, and things like that. Then we have The Lovely War by Julie Berry. This one was brought to my attention, I think, when I first joined BookTube, and it was one that kind of intrigued me, but I was like, I don't really know if like I want to read it or whatnot. And this was actually one of the first few books that I picked up while I was looking through the shelves, because this one was $5.95. In the perilous days of World Wars I and II, the gods held the fates and the hearts of four mortals in their hands: Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette. A classical pianist from London, a British would-be architect turned soldier, a Harlem-born ragtime genius in the U.S. Army, and a Belgian orphan with a gorgeous voice and a devastating past. Their story, as told by goddess Aphrodite, who must spin the tale or face judgment on Mount Olympus, is filled with hope and heartbreak, prejudice and passion, and reveals that though war is a formidable force, it's no match for the transcendent power of love. I'm so curious on this one. It actually is a little bit chunkier than I thought it would be, but I am curious. It seems like it's kind of like a historical fiction, but also add in some Greek mythology, so I'm curious to finally read this and check it out on my own. So next, I actually have a Darcy Coates book. I do have more Darcy Coates books that are actually intermixed in this bag, but I think they're kind of all over the place. So first one is Dead Lake by Darcy Coates. We all know me and my love of Darcy Coates. She's one of my favorite authors, and I've been working on reading through her backlist. I feel like I've read at least 5 books from her so far, so not even close to the amount of books that she's written, but I'm excited to continue paving my way through the books. So this one says, she thought she was alone. Sam is excited to spend a week at her uncle's remote lakeside cabin. It's a chance for her to focus on her art without distractions. No neighbors, no phone, and only a small radio to keep her company. It's perfect. But there's something deeply unnatural lingering by the lake. Oh, I'm so excited. This is a really thin read. I'll probably devour this book within a day, I bet. And this has been a book that I've been trying to get through Book Outlet, but it's one of those that always gets snagged up right away if you don't purchase it the moment you see it. So I finally have this in my hands. This was actually one of the full price books, so this one was $16.99. Then I have Now Comes the Mist by Julie C. Dow. And I believe I saw this one mentioned on Jan Agaton's channel, and I was like, sure, okay, we're gonna take a picture of this to remember to look at it later. But then when I was looking through the horror section, I saw this one. I was like, wait a second, I've seen that book, and it was mentioned by Jan. So this one says, Lucy Westenra is beautiful, rich, loved by 3 men, every inch a lady, but beneath this sparkling, flirtatious facade, she is fascinated by death, which has stalked her throughout her short life. For her, the dead do not slip away easily as they do for her best friend Mina. They linger. Oh, so this is like a Dracula retelling. Ooh, I'm excited for this. And I think the cover is just so beautiful. And this one was $8.95, so another orange sticker. Then we have The Haunting of Rookwood House by Darcy Coates, another Darcy Coates book. Says, she's always watching. When Guy finds the deed to a house in his mother's attic, it seems like an incredible stroke of luck. Sure, it hasn't been inhabited in years, and vines strangle the age-stained walls, but Guy's convinced he can clean up the building and sell it. He'd be crazy to turn down free money, right? Ugh. Darcy Coates definitely has a lot of like haunted house type of books, so I can't wait to go and read this one. I've only read The Carol Haunt by her so far, which was also like a haunted house type of book, so I can't wait to read this one by her as well. Then I have House of Monstrous Women by Daphne Fama. And this one is also a book that is by a Filipino author. I think this one was available potentially through Bloomsbury, and Bloomsbury is another influencer program that I'm a part of. However, it is so hard to ever get books from them, so this was one that I unfortunately wasn't able to get, and I still kept it on my radar just in case if there was a chance that I'd see it when I was walking around in a bookstore. So I was able to get this one for $14.50, another orange sticker. This one says, in this game there's one rule: survive. Orphaned after her father's political campaign ended in tragedy, Josephine is alone taking care of the family home while her older brother is off in Manila, where revolution brews. But an unexpected invitation from her childhood friend, Hiraya, to her house offers an escape. Why don't you come visit and we can play games like we used to? Oof. And like the font with that is just like scribbled in red and seems very creepy and eerie. I'm so curious and excited for this one. Another book I was able to find was Such a Pretty Smile by Christy Demeester. And this one I got for $12.95. I can't remember whose channel I saw this one on, but I did take a screenshot of it so I could look it up again later. It says, silence feeds them, but we bite back. A biting novel from an electrifying new voice. This is a heart-stopping tour de force about powerful women, angry men, and all the ways in which girls fight against the forces that try to silence them. There's something out there that's killing, known only as the cur. He leaves no traces, save for the torn bodies of girls on the verge of becoming women, who are known as troublemakers, those who refuse to conform, to know their place, girls who don't know when to shut up. I love books that have female rage in them, so anytime I see something like that that is right up my alley, I instantly go and screenshot it so I can take a look at it later. And when I saw this one at a reasonable price, I was like, yep, okay, we're gonna go and add this to the pile for the 30 books that I'm gonna get. So can't wait to read this one as well. It's also kind of a thin read, so this should be a really quick read for me. Then I got Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinniman. As some of you know, back in November I read Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I actually listened to it as an audiobook, which honestly I highly recommend. It is so good. But going into the store and knowing that I was going to get some books for my birthday, automatically I knew I wanted to get some books for Dungeon Crawler Carl. Now, unfortunately, they didn't have as many of the books as I was hoping, but I was able to get the second book, which was one that I really wanted to get so that I could continue reading on with the series, because I feel like although the audiobooks are so good, I just absorb books a lot better if I read them physically, and I think that's something I want to do for this. So this was the second book. Unfortunately, it was hardback. I wasn't able to go and find it in paperback, and this was one of the books that was for full price and counted as 2 books. Another book I was really excited to find was actually in their sprayed edges section, and that was The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This was a 5-star read for me, at least I'm pretty sure, during my first year of BookTube. I loved this book so much. It also made me bawl my eyes out, and I've been really wanting to get my hands on a sprayed edition of this book, and I was able to find it. They had this one for $39.95, so it was still up there, and this was another book that counted for 2 books. But I really had to grab it, especially since it is one of my favorite books that I've read. And just so that you can see how it looks, we have this, and then the front cover here, which has this really cute little honey pot. I love that so much. The spine here, and then this image on the back. And then the inner dust jacket, which is this. So yeah, this was one of the more expensive books I got as well. Like I said, I was trying to stick to cheaper books, especially if they had the orange sticker. But there were a few exceptions, such as the Dungeon Crawler Carl books, because I really want to continue reading on with that series. And then this one as well, because it is a really favorite book of mine. Like I said earlier, I had the goal of getting Dungeon Crawler Carl, so I was able to get the first book, and it was a paperback edition. When we were at the register checking out, the cashier actually told us that they only had put out 2 paperback editions, and when I had gotten this one, this was the only paperback. So we got there at the perfect time, and I'm so glad I snatched this up when I did. So those of you that don't know about Dungeon Crawler Carl, this is kind of like a lit RPG book. This is the first book that I ever read like this, but I'm a huge video gamer. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm getting more into that because of my partner DMing. And when I heard about this book, I was like, I really need to read this, but I also wanted to read it at the perfect time, which is why I read it in November, because it counted for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what this book is about. You know what's worse than breaking up with your girlfriend? Being stuck with her prize-winning show cat. And you know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systematic exploitation of all the survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, as they try to survive the end of the world or just get to the next level in a video game-like trap-filled fantasy dungeon. I'm so glad that I have an edition of this book now for my bookshelf. It's actually a lot thinner than I thought it would be, but I believe each book gets bigger and bigger. And funny enough, when we were driving down to 2nd and Charles, I actually put on the audiobook for it so I could show it to my partner, and they even said that they were obsessed. It was so good. They were cracking up. So that probably is something that I'm going to be doing a reread of for this year, because I feel like back in November I was listening to this at a really incredibly fast speed, and I feel like I wasn't really retaining a lot of what I was listening to, and I really want to do that before I continue on with the rest of the books. And this one was also full price as well. Then another book that I found in the horror section was Frostbite by Angela Sylvain. I was really drawn in by the cover art. I think it's so beautiful, and right away I was kind of like, all right, this seems like it is an apocalyptic book, which I love apocalyptic books. I'm obsessed with anything that involves a good apocalypse, so I had to go and see what this one was about. It's also $8.95 as well. This says Midwestern Mayhem. Remember the 90s? Well, the town of Demise, North Dakota doesn't, and they're living in the year 1997. That's because an alien worm hitched a ride on a comet, crash landed in the town's trailer park, and is now infecting animals with a memory loss inducing bite, and right before Christmas. Now it's up to 19-year-old Raylene and her best friend Nate to stop the spread and defeat the worms before the entire town loses its mind. The only things standing in the way are their troubled past, a doomsday cult, and an army of infected prairie dogs. This could potentially be cheesy, which could be a make or break with how well I enjoy this book, but I'm excited to go and check it out. And like I said, I just love the cover art. I think it's gorgeous. Also on the back, we're seeing the prairie dogs that they mentioned in the synopsis, so we'll see how this goes. I'm so excited to check it out. Another book I was able to find was Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. This one is the third and last book in her Fallen Gods series. I have read the first 2 books, and I haven't had the chance to read the third book yet. It also looks like this one is a signed first edition as well, which is super cool. But I won't read you the back of this one because I don't want to give any spoilers. But with this series, it does involve a main character that does have a limb difference, which is a piece that actually first brought me to the series, because I wasn't necessarily planning on reading it, but as someone that also does have a limb difference as well, I love whenever there's good representation of limb differences in books, and that's something that I could go and vouch on for this series. I think the limb difference representation is so well done. I have the third book in this series, so I can finally go and read it, and here is her signature in it, which is so cool. And this one was also full price as well. Then 2 books that I'm going to do at once are these 2. I have Jade War and Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is the second and third book in the series, and I haven't read the first book yet, but I have been planning on it. It's actually on my one reading challenge. I think it's 26 books to read in 2026. by Chantel Reads. I believe that's her channel. I'm kind of blanking right now, but I really want to read this series so much, and I actually prefer these covers over the newer editions, so I wanted to go and snag these up. Sadly, they are both full price, but I really wanted to get them and want to get them before there are no longer copies available, and both of them were in great condition. So I'm excited that I got these, because if I am obsessed with the first book, like I think I will be, then I can easily go and dive into these books without having to wait to get my hands on them. Next we have Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This was actually one that I think I just randomly came across online, and I had taken a picture of it, and when I was putting together my list before we went to the bookstore, this was one that I had included. So when I was looking through the horror shelf, I found it and I was like, yes, we're gonna snag this one up. This says, in 1977, 4 teenagers and a dog, Andy, the tomboy, Nate the nerd, Carrie the bookworm, Peter the jock, and Tim the mariner? I don't know. Solve the mystery of Sleepy Lake, the trail of an amphibian monster terrorizing the quiet town of Blighton Hills. Led the gang to spend a night in Debone Mansion and apprehend a familiar culprit, a bitter old man in a mask. Now in 1990, the 20-something former teen detectives are lost souls. Plagued by night terrors and Peter's tragic death, the 3 survivors have been running from their demons. When the man they apprehended all those years ago makes parole, Andy tracks him down to confirm what she's always known. They got the wrong guy. Oh, this is so interesting. Right when I got it, I was like, this kind of seems like a Scooby-Doo type of story, and Scooby-Doo is one of my all-time favorite shows. It's something that even my dad to this day still goes and watches. He actually had a Scooby-Doo lunchbox that he would always bring to work. But I was like, this sounds so interesting, and I'm really excited to go and check it out. It's also a very thin read, and this one was also full price as well. Then we have Rust Colored Rain, which is Rack and Ruin Book 1 by Otto Schaefer. This was a book that I remember first coming across in the TikTok shop and was intrigued by, because as you can tell, it has zombies on it. So when I saw this at the store, I was so excited, and I was like, yep, you're coming home with me. And this one was $4.50. The world was ready to defend against an asteroid of epic proportions, but nobody was ready for what came after. On the last day of normal life in Mackinac, Illinois, Oliver McAllister thinks his worst problem is figuring out how to come clean to his wife about the secret he's been keeping from her. Zoe McAllister thinks her worst problem is squeezing in an errand at the courthouse before another long day of nursing classes, and worrying about whatever Oliver is hiding from her. Oliver has just started his garbage routine when an emergency broadcast announces the arrival of a 10-kilometer-long asteroid. A nuclear strike successfully destroys the asteroid and turns the sky into a canvas of crimson clouds. People cheer. They dance in the rust-colored rain falling from the clouds. It seems the apocalypse has been avoided. But the apocalypse isn't happening to people. It's happening inside them. I'm excited to read this. It's super thin as well. This is an indie author's book, and we'll see how this goes. I think they have more books as well, so if I like this one, then I'll definitely have to go to the TikTok shop or see where I can go and buy the author's other books for the series. Then I have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This one I got for $3.75, and I'm so excited. It's in excellent condition as well. This one has been on my radar because I've heard that it has mermaids in it, and it's like a horror style story with mermaids, which automatically count me in. I love horror. I love mermaids. Sign me up. It says, the ocean is home to many myths. Some are deadly. 7 years ago, the Artagesis? I'm definitely not saying that right, set off on a voyage to the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax. Others have called it a tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled. Some seek to validate their life's work. Some seek the greatest hunt of all. Some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the waves. There are a few different booktubers that I follow that have read this book and absolutely loved it, so I'm excited to check this out. This is actually one of the few books by Mira Grant that I've had on my radar that I really want to read, so I got very excited when I was able to find this on the shelves. Then we have another Darcy Coates book, which is The Ravenous Dead, Gravekeeper Book 2. I've read The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates, and it was a book that I was kind of meh on, but I have been really wanting to continue on with the series. There is a cute little cat companion as well. The main character, from what I remember in the first book, is someone that was running away from something, but unfortunately she doesn't have any recollection of what happened. All she knows is that there were people chasing after her, and a kind priest went and let her stay there. There was an abandoned house, I think from someone that worked on the property. They were like the gravekeeper or something, and he let her go and stay there and kind of kept her safe from the people that were chasing her down. And while there, she kind of realizes that she can go and see the dead. And it definitely was an intriguing book. The premise was kind of something that made me feel like, okay, this could be something right up my alley. But I felt like it wasn't something I was in love with like I had hoped, but I am, like I said earlier, wanting to continue the series, so I was excited to go and pick this one up. I did get this one at full price as well, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to continue on with this series. Last Darcy Coates book that I was able to snag was The Fulcroft Ghosts. This one says every family has its secrets. When their mother is hospitalized, Tara and Kyle are sent to stay with their only remaining relatives. Their elderly grandparents seem friendly at first, and the rambling house is full of fun nooks and crannies to explore. But strange things keep happening. A bedroom remains locked at all times. Doors slam and curtains shift when no one is inside, and there are whispers of a sister who drowned in the lake long ago. Something is being hidden away, kept safely out of sight, and the children can't shake the feeling that it's watching them. Oof. I can't wait to read this. And then finally, the last book that I have here is The Druid's Call by E.K. Johnston. This is a Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves book. I had this one on my list for a while, and then I was like, I don't know, I'll take it off of it. But then I saw it at the store, and it was for $9.95, another orange sticker, and I was like, you know what? Yep, we're gonna pick it up. Sadly, the dust jacket does have a little bit of a tear here, but that doesn't bother me too much because the rest of the book seems to be in really good shape. So this one says, exploring the thrilling origins of the druid Dork in the original prequel to Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. For as long as she can remember, Dork has felt alone. Abandoned by her human parents, she wandered for years before being taken in by a community of Neverwinter wood elves. But her horns and tail proclaim a tiefling heritage, and even among the kindest of elves, her fledgling druidic abilities make her as different from the rangers around her. And as humans begin to encroach farther and farther into the once pristine woods, Dork knows she needs to master her druidic capabilities if she is to be any help to her adopted family. With no means of helping Dork themselves, her guardians see no choice but to send her somewhere she can come into her own. As some of you know, my partner plays D&D, and I have started playing D&D and usually always go with a druid, but even before those days, whenever I found a druid class that I could play in a video game, such as World of Warcraft, that was automatically the one that I went with, and I just have such fond memories of my character on that game. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to World of Warcraft just because it is, I think, a monthly payment in order to play, but I just always think back on those days fondly, and it started my love of druids, what can I say? So this was another book that I got, and I'm so excited to read it. And although this technically doesn't count as a book, Charles got the Adventures Awaits tote bag, and of course it has a dragon on it because they are obsessed with dragons. But I guess this is going to be our new tote bag that we use whenever we go to bookstores and everything, which is awesome. Those were all the books that my partner got for my 30th birthday, which is just wild. They had a few different gift cards and things like that, plus their 20% off teacher's discount that they were able to use. And then with the points and everything, we got a couple of different coupons as well to use at a later date. I also did go and bring my unhaul books there to go and sell, but unfortunately they were so busy that they weren't able to go and get to my bag of unhauled books while we were there. So I think they already credited it now to my account. So I'll have to see what that is, and if I know at this point, I'll just let you know so that you can see how much I earned for the books that I unhauled. Yeah, I'm still in disbelief that this was my birthday present from my partner. I'm just incredibly grateful, and I'm incredibly excited to read all of these books. There were definitely a few on my list, not necessarily on the top of my list, but some that I was like, yeah, these are on my radar. I definitely will go and pick them up when I get the chance. And then I happened to stumble upon them as I was looking through the bookshelves at the store. I'm so excited to read these, and if you've read any of these books, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe it will help influence which book I decide to go and start reading first. But if you've made it to this point of the video and don't know what to comment, maybe go and leave a birthday cake or some confetti emotes just for my birthday. Again, turning 30 is something that I'm so excited for. I can't wait to see what my 30s have in store for me, because 20s were definitely a little bit of a roller coaster, and I've heard nothing but good things about the 30s. So I think it's only up from here. That's all I can say. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for celebrating my birthday with me by watching this video. And I just want to say I really appreciate you all so much. I forgot to mention in my Defend the TBR video that I wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone, and that I'm manifesting nothing but great things for everyone this year. It's going to be our year. We're going to have great things in store for us. I'm going to keep saying it, and if I keep saying it, it is 100% going to happen. So just keep believing, everyone. But as always, I always wrap up my video with a reminder to always remember that you're worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends.
Maggie, what do we have in here? What's in here? Is there anything you want to say to me? Do you want to say happy birthday? Good baby.
She tried her best.
I love you. Thank you. I love you. Yes. All the birthday kisses. Huh. Oh, and yawns. What a stinky breath.
This is actually a book that I've kind of had on my...
Bless you. Are you just sneezing on the books? Ma'am, are you sneezing on the books?
We are not doing a book haul anymore.
Oh, bless you. Are they that dusty? Bless you. Finn wants to check out the books too. Do you want to say happy birthday? Finn, you want to say happy birthday? He doesn't want to say happy birthday.
He does not like the camera.